G'day folks, and welcome to today's edition of Australian Car Collector. We're here in Brisbane at the RNA Showgrounds, and we're here as part of RACQ Motorfest. So this is one of Queensland's larger coming together of the motoring community. You'll see everything from the Mustangs, old and new behind me, because it is the anniversary of the 60 years of Mustang, right through to EVs, antique cars, veteran cars, and everything in between. So we're going to bring you a fantastic mix of all of this today. Come along for the ride. We're right in the middle of winter in Brisbane. It's a glorious day. Fantastic opportunity to see some wonderful cars and meet some great people. Folks, some people with cars, their background goes back merely months or years. Other people with cars, it goes back decades. I'm here with Neil. We're in front of the Jaguar display at the RACQ Motorfest at the RNA Showgrounds. And Neil, I need to start by asking you, mate, tell me about your first recollection of motor cars. How far back do you go with these?
Well, my first car, believe it or not, was a Fiat Topolino, which I got when I was 17, and I would have that would have been 1965,
right?
And I sold that about 12 months after I got it, because my then girlfriend, which is now my wife, came from Bundaberg, and if I wanted to go to Bundaberg in my Topolino, I would have had to have started a week earlier, and I always regretted selling that Topolino. And so about 15 years after that, I went searching for another Topolino, and at that stage John Laws was selling some of his cars. And I sent my daughter down to Sydney, and I just said, keep going, just keep putting your hand up until you get the car.
Is that the auction?
At the auction, yeah. And I got a Topolino back, which I still have.
Lawsy's Topolino.
Lawsy's Topolino.
And you hit the horn, it says, "Hello world."
And I always wondered how a bloke that of his tall stature would get into
the thing. Yeah,
but he did.
Right.
And he did drive it.
So 17, you got your first one.
Correct.
What was the family's history with cars, mate? Were you the first up-and-comer with motor cars, or was there a history before that?
Well, my father was very mechanically minded, and so I learnt how to rebuild engines when I was very early. And so when I was 18, 19, 20, we had boats, and so Dad always had either a diesel engine boat or something with a big American engine in it, always straight sixes.
Right.
And so we used to pull the engines down and rebuild them. So I became very familiar with that. Then after I sold the Topolino, to get to Bundaberg and back, I bought myself a Volkswagen. So I started off with a 1200cc Volkswagen.
A Beetle?
A Beetle. Mm-hmm. And I always used to... it used to annoy me. People used to pass me going to Bundaberg.
Not quick enough.
So no, it certainly wasn't quick enough. And so I was determined to make sure that when I went to Bundaberg and back, no one would ever pass me. So it went from a 1200cc to a 1300cc to a 1500cc to a 1750cc Volkswagen engine, twin carbs.
In the same car?
In the same car.
Wow, okay.
With thin Pirelli tyres, and no one passed me.
So no one got to the girl before you did?
So and then we got married when we were 20 and 21, and then a couple of years after that, I thought, I've got to get out of this car because I'm going to kill myself. So we went and bought a brand new Volvo. I hocked everything. So I bought a Volvo 144 RS, and I've had a Volvo ever since then of some description. And these days, I've got a 1967 123 GT,
Oh, wow.
which there are very few of them.
That's rare.
And that car I bought in 1989.
Right. So did the car bug creep into work for you as well? Did you make a career out of this?
Not really. But many years ago, because of my love of cars, the Walters family asked me to join their board at Motorama. So I spent 10 years on the board at the dealership there, helping them to develop a strategy around expansion.
Okay.
And that was great. And I still continue my association with the younger generation in there, even though the Walters now have sold out of Motorama and moved on.
So you managed to combine that business acumen with the passion. Still
always had a passion. Well, a long time ago, there used to be a thing called the Warana Rally.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used to do the rally in my Volkswagen. And so I've always had this passion for doing rally and a bit of race work. And then in the 90s, I did many Target Tasmanias in a Mustang, which I still have.
Fantastic. So that'd be on film somewhere, right?
It is.
We need to go looking for that bit of film. That'd be great.
Yeah, 1967 big block Mustang.
Yeah. Awesome. What a bit of kit.
Mm.
So obviously in a Jag shirt now, Jag cap, and I believe this beauty behind you is yours.
I bought this in 1989, and so it's done 40,000 miles, and I'm the third owner, and I've got the complete history of it. And
so this is Series 2, is that right?
Series 3.
Series 3,
yeah.
Okay.
So Series 3 came out in 1970, ran through to 1974. It was the oil crisis, and Jaguar had a lot of union problems in 73 and 74. So this car was built in October 73. It was called a 74 model because Jaguar changed the year over on the 30th September each year. So this car is rather unique in that it was built when they were just pulling things off shelves to put these together. And so this one's got different bumpers on it to what you normally find. It was sold in through a dealer in Reading, England, to a British Airways pilot who brought it out to Australia in the 1970s anyway. And that was bought by a fellow called Ian McAllister, who's still alive. And Ian then sold it to me in 36 years ago.
Well, Neil, thank you so much for bringing it out today and for the chat with us. And if it's okay with you, we're going to have a look around it.
Great.
Marvellous. Thanks, mate. Good on you.
Good on you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take me for a ride, yeah. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Come on, baby, take me for, yeah. You're my starlight.
go.
Folks, when you come to car shows like this, one of the most wonderful things is that you get to meet really passionate enthusiasts who not only display the car, but are really willing to talk to you about the backstory behind the car. I'm here with Trevor. Trevor's the proud owner of this 2005 Monaro. I'm going to get Trevor to give you a bit of backstory on it, but first I'd like to give you a little bit of backstory regarding this picture. So this is Trevor at the age of?
I wouldn't be any more than about 5.
5 years old, standing in front of a HK Monaro. And who did this belong to, mate?
It belonged to my dad. So he was a car enthusiast,
Right.
one would say, and he loved his Monaro, and there's the evidence there.
So we've got the very first model of Monaro here.
Pretty much, yep, absolutely.
And we're standing in front of the very last model of the Monaro.
That's it.
And there's a direct link to the two cars in one individual. So
That's
mate,
it.
tell me about this car.
All right, so Dad passed away about 2 years ago now, and my wife said, look, you can spend frivolously. Whatever the inheritance is, you can spend frivolously. And I went,
What a gal.
yes,
what a
yes,
gal.
lovely lady. So I was into my Skylines. I thought, I love a Skyline, and then got thinking about it, and come across the photos as you do for Dad's funeral, and went, actually, the Monaro. And it dropped, the penny dropped that that's what I needed to get hold of. And bit of research, I contacted the original owner of this car and told him why I wanted it, what I wanted it for, and let him know that, you know, you being the owner has to be comfortable with who you're selling it to,
Sure.
that they're not going to wreck it, that it's still as much his pride and joy.
Yes.
Like it's given up one of his own children almost.
So it's gone to a new custodian, not just an owner.
Not just an owner, exactly. So
Right.
someone who's going to love and care for it and look after it the way it was intended.
Wonderful.
So here she is today, and yeah, absolutely couldn't be happier.
It's a stunning car, mate, and it's got a very special number plate.
Yeah,
So this is a link to Dad.
it is indeed. So it was Trevor Melvin Costin, and it just fell into place being Melvin the Monaro. And there you go. Yeah, it worked out really well.
That's beautiful, mate. And so this is a more of a Sunday drive car than an everyday, I take it?
She's a weekender.
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay. Right.
Yeah. No, I try and keep the Ks down, but you know, I'm very torn between keeping the Ks down and driving it.
Right.
It's such a buzz to drive.
So tell me about the spec behind the car, mate. What are we talking here?
Okay, so it's CV8Z, so the last, and they finished wrapping up production of the Australian version in December of 05. So this one here is in October 15, I believe, in 05. They kept the manufacturing line running until mid 06, I believe, to produce the model that went to America.
Right.
Which
was the GTO.
GTO,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. And due to that, the fuel tank, instead of being laying down, is standing up to meet the American safety standard. So the boots in these ones aren't as big as the second generation Monaros when it was relaunched.
Right.
So suffering on the boot space, but nah, doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter. And what were they running under the bonnet on this one, mate?
Okay, so in this one they're running the LS1, 5.7 litre, so equivalent of the old 350 Chevy.
Sure.
So it's got enough horsepower, but you know, yeah, I always want more, but no, I'm being
You're going to
restrained.
keep it as it is.
Oh yeah, I'm being very restrained. Much as I'd love
We're
to.
not 20 years old and we're not seeking 700 horsepower anymore.
No.
Mate, it's a beautiful car. I love the fact you've got the little model on the dash as well. And the fact that your wife has encouraged this passion and the link to your father.
I appreciate that very much too.
That's what collecting cars is all about. There's usually a link back to someone in the past, and what a beautiful testament to it. So,
and I hope to be able to put that legacy on to my boys, and they can carry it on.
Fantastic. How old are they now, mate?
Well, in their 26, 27, around that age group.
So when they're sensible enough to drive it, then
they have driven it, and they're a bit scared of it crashing.
Okay. Oh, they have healthy respect.
They do have respect for it.
Mate, thank you so much for talking to us.
Excellent.
It was wonderful.
Have a good one. Thanks, mate.
folks, we're going to sort of mix things up a little bit here. We've looked at some of the older cars in the collection out here at Motorfest, and now we're going to something a little bit newer. And this is something that I promise you will see very, very few of these in Australia. I'm here with Ian, who's the president of the Renault Car Club. And we've got, now I'm going to let Ian pronounce this correctly because I got it mixed up with BMW before. And this is a...
Hi folks, this is an Alpine A110 and they're made by Renault in France at the Dieppe, which is the motorsport factory of the Renault Group.
And how many would be in Australia now, mate?
So there were 110 brought in originally, 60 of this special edition. Unfortunately, a couple have found kangaroos and other things since then.
Welcome to Australia, guys.
Welcome to Australia.
No bull bar on the front of this
No
one.
bull bar. So it's aluminium construction,
Right.
96% aluminium.
And four-cylinder?
4-cylinder, 1.8 litre turbocharged engine, similar to you'd find in the Renault Megane 4s.
Okay. And about 250 horsepower
Yeah,
there.
about 250. So it's a detuned engine,
Right.
giving the car its agility.
But we only weigh just over a tonne.
That's right, 1.1.
That's not a bad power to weight ratio. That's pretty impressive. So how long have you had this one?
So I've got this in 2018, and it's only done 20,000 kilometres since then. But primarily track days and opportunities like this to show the public.
Yeah, for sure. Fantastic. So, Ian, what got you involved in Renault, mate? What's your history there?
Yeah, good question. And it started with a Renault Megane, and because I wanted a car that was a bit of a driver's car.
Sure.
And then I got two older Renaults, so a Renault 10, then a Renault 16, and one day at a committee meeting for the club, they said, who's going to buy a Alpine? And guess it was me.
The guinea pig.
The guinea pig.
Fantastic, mate. And what on earth possessed you to put your hand up to say, I'll run the show for a little while with the club?
Yeah, I think one of the things that are really important in clubs and for all motoring and everybody here is that we get the new generations interested in motoring and motor cars, both old and new, because they all got something, for us to learn.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely right, mate. So tell me about the club. How many members have you got in the Renault Club?
We've got about 120 members in the Queensland Club, and it's a very active club. It does a lot of interstate travel as well. So even in a couple of weeks' time, I'll be taking my R10, a whole 1,100 cc's, down to Sydney with the crew to go to a show in Sydney.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a long way. What year is that?
That's 1969.
Wow.
So it's there's the leading edge of technology and the old stuff.
The old stuff as well. Right. Well, look, I'd say well done. We might have a look around the car.
Please do that. You, I'm happy to open a few things for you.
Thank you so much for bringing it along. It's just a marvellous piece of machinery. Well done. Thank you very much. That's great, Ian. Good on So, if you've got a car, if your friend, family member, whoever it is, has got a car that you'd love to see featured on the show, then right down the bottom of the screen here is where you're going to find a link to it.